Hello, and my name is Paul Spurlin. Welcome to the Paul Spurlin Show, Beyond the Mic. This podcast is all about, well, just about anything, everything in ministry, all kinds of ministry. The church, family, marriage, raising kids, walking the walk, and much, much more. We will share the latest news, sports, current events, what's trending and what's not. This show will share what's going on in the Brotherhood, lectureships, camps, conferences, and all kinds of events. We're all about the search for life, love, pursuit of happiness. We seek to find truth, justice, and the way to Him. To keep up with what's going on with this show, be sure to follow us on social media, all social media platforms at The Paul Spurlin, and on the website, thepaulspurlin.com. And send us an email at thepaulspurlin@gmail.com. We hope you enjoy this episode. And now, let's start the show. Thank you for being with us today for the Paul Spurlin Show, brought to you by Piedmont Road Church of Christ, right here in Marietta, Georgia. Right here in Marietta, Georgia is the Piedmont Road Church of Christ. Our website is lifeinchrist.com. Go there and get all the resources that you can get and things we have there at the church, lifeinchrist.com. We will really appreciate that. Also, ministry.com. Go to the app. You must go to the app. iPhone or Android apps to download the podcast or to see the podcast. They're all right there. There's over 60 of them. A big thanks to Caleb Sampson for directing that program and making all that happen, adding more and more. I say 60. There's probably like 75 by now, but that was the last number I heard. And Caleb does a great job with that, and our board does a great job with putting out those resources. So keep that in mind at ministry.com. Everything on social media is at Ministry League. So keep that in mind. A lot going on in the world, a lot of things we're going to share with you, a lot of things I want to share with you. And I appreciate you for joining me for this experiment that we call the Paul Spurlin Show. Basically, I've been around the world, done a few things. I've been in ministry for quite a while and done a lot of different kinds of ministry. And so I want to share some of the things with you. That's what the show is all about. We started a couple of weeks ago to kind of introduce kind of what we're wanting to discuss with you and share with you. And so that's kind of where we're at right now. And now last week we did not. Last week we kind of took the week off. That was MLK Day. And so also it was Presidential Inauguration Day, which I find kind of interesting. When you think about it. But I tell you what, let's do this because we're going to do different things and talk about some different things and introduce a lot of stuff. But let's go ahead and begin, if you don't mind, with some news. So things going on in the world today, and that's some of the things I've always wanted to do and to share. That's what I do. So this week we were on the air because of Martin Luther King Jr. Day, and it also being a presidential inauguration day. And so I just want to go ahead and get it started. I find it interesting, and this happens occasionally, not often, when both these days coincide. And I found it very interesting. Especially when you look at the presidential inauguration, you see where that the exchange of power occurred, and it seemed very, very seamless, very kind on both sides. It seemed like both sides were very amicable, and allowing that to happen hasn't always been the case in our country's history. For the most part, it has been, and it was this year. I felt, but I felt it was kind of neat because you get this opportunity to exchange power, not just from one president to another, but also one party to another. I mean, it is. But on the day of Martin Luther King Day, originally was enacted because of the workings of another president, President Ronald Reagan, was the one that initiated that into law for that day, which is great. But it was also neat because it resembles, not to resemble, it brings about the idea of equal rights, of the dream of Martin Luther King Jr. And knowing that everybody is the same, we're the same, and it's sad because you go through history and you see where people are having difficulty with this years and years over, and history seems to repeat itself, but it shouldn't. We could learn from our mistakes and go forward and understand that everybody has a purpose, everybody has a plan, everybody has a reason for being here. And when you think of the pathway to heaven, the pathway to being a part of this church, we're all the same. We all have the same opportunity, we all have the same abilities when it comes to being in heaven one day. And so I just found it very interesting that these two things happen on the same day, and hopefully people will take this positivity and utilize it in your life, and just be kind, not just to a few people, but to every people. Don't judge people by what they look like, and don't judge people by how they act, and just know that God created us all. And so that's kind of where we start as far as our news goes with that. Another thing is just on the President Trump thing. I mean, he made some promises and he's sticking to them. He's doing some stuff. So be close to the news reel that you look at, whether it be internet, television, or whatever, because he is following through with a lot of his promises that he's made. Biggest, and that's kind of too deep into this, is like some of the tariffs that he's after. Let's let the folks internationally take care of the stuff, and less output from American folks, U.S. folks. So that's one of the things he's right now, which I'm interested to see how that turns out, as far as that goes as well. So we got a lot of things in the weather. Has been the weather has been interesting, especially here in I'm in Marietta, Georgia. Okay, so I'm right here, and we are in the midst of I guess after a snowstorm that occurred here, 2 or 3 weeks ago now, and then last week Pensacola, Gulf Shores, Tallahassee has 3 or 4 inches. That's weird, but it is what it is. There's the weather. I'm not going to be pointing at the map or anything, but that's something on. And then we have the sports. Let's talk a little about sports. I'm wearing this shirt from 2022 because I love the Eagles. I'm a fan of a number of their players. They have a lot of cool players that played for a certain collegiate team. We'll get to that in a minute. But we do like sports around here. We are an Atlanta-based location, so we will talk about the Braves quite a bit. We'll talk about the Hawks some, which is kind of sad, kind of the run they're on, but they're better than that. They'll get back. It's fine. Then you have, of course, Atlanta United with soccer happening around here. And then, of course, the which we'd be following if they were in postseason, but they are not. So we're following the Eagles. That's what we're doing. And so this was from 22. It didn't work out so well. Patrick Mahomes took that one. And hopefully they will get their redemption story this year as Jalen Hurts, Saquon, and others, Devontae Smith, of course, and others, A.J. Brown and others will hopefully bring to their home the Super Bowl championship, world championship in a couple weeks. My connection to them, I actually lived in Philadelphia for a little while. Those really close to me may have known that, but when I was stationed in the Navy, Chicago or Lakes or boot camp, and then the rest of my time I lived in Philadelphia for about 3 years, and then came down to Jacksonville, Florida to close down my time in the Navy. But was able to go to some games and just be around the people, enjoy the Philly cheesesteak, and so yeah, the Eagles definitely Philadelphia. Eagles or Faulkner Eagles are some of my favorites. So there's pretty excited about that going on. Like I said, coming up in just a few weeks. So we're excited about that. Still a few pieces that the Braves need to get to where they're going this year. We're not quite there. I think we need a pitcher, and we need Orlando Arcia's bat to wake up, or find someone's who will. Although that glove will be difficult to replace. But that's kind of where we are on news, sports, and the weather, if you want to throw that in there too. But we will. I'm a sports fan, so we'll talk about that. And on the sports thing, I would like to get your thoughts on this. If you want to make a comment here, we talk about how do you choose your teams. Me and so a name I will use quite a bit in this show is the name of Stephanie. Stephanie is my wife. We hail from the North Alabama area, but we're living in Georgia now and loving it. Absolutely loving it here. But we are from North Alabama, and so she and I have different ideas when it comes to whether you choose a team or not. And she chooses a team by the cuteness of the mascot. The particular sketch type show where they talked about the the bracketology of the teams, and it was based off of the cuteness of the mascot. And from this little skit, I feel is where Stephanie got her love for a certain team. She chooses the Zags, Gonzaga, over in the far side of our country, which is probably about a 45-hour drive from here. Nowhere close to us, but because their bulldog looked cute in the picture, she pulls for them. And of course, now I'm like, if you got to pull for a bulldog, there's one down here in Athens. I mean, it's kind of close. Let's go there if you want to. And so, but no, she likes the Zags because of the basketball program. You got Coach Few there who has been there for quite a while, who is a phenomenal coach. He keeps them competitive. But I will say the SEC, and I'm an SEC guy. SEC has a resurgence in college basketball right now. You had two of my least favorite teams in the world, but Auburn and Tennessee played this past week at 1-6. That's impressive. Usually you're talking about Kentucky and Duke. We're talking about Alabama. You're talking about Auburn. We're talking about Tennessee and other SEC teams. So that's really great. I say resurgence. I've never known in my life where the SEC were known as king of basketball. It's always been ACC. It's always been the Eastern Coast and going all the way up. But that is where we are on that. But anyway, let's get back to the important thing here is why do you choose your team? So originally I was a Titans fan because I was born in Tennessee. But I also was moved quickly to Alabama. My dad and my mom raised me to be an Alabama fan. If you know me, you know that. And I'm a diehard Roll Tide fan. I mean, go Bama, and everything that they do. We had a good run for a long time. We enjoyed it. We had a good 10, 15 years with Coach Saban when things went our way. And it's over now. No, I'm just kidding. I mean, it looks like it is, but anyway, we're dealing with that and hoping for the bear. But I was raised that way. But I was also, like I said, born in Tennessee, East Tennessee, East Tennessee. But when the Oilers moved to Memphis, I was I became a big Titans fan. I thought, okay, finally, let me find a pro team because I love sports. I love football. Played high school, middle school. And so when I see that, I recognize and appreciate a team in my home state that I was born in. I wasn't there, we didn't live there long, but still. They were in Memphis for a year or two, then they moved over to Nashville, Tennessee Titans, from McNair to George to Henry, all the way. But being here, obviously I ascribe more towards the Falcons because it's here. Our people here are Falcons fans. I want to be with them. I want to understand what that is. And so I did. I pulled for the Falcons. I was a big Kirk Cousins fan. I thought he did great. Did okay with Washington when they were the Redskins. I followed him when he was with the Vikings. He did really good. When he came to the Falcons, I thought they finally got him a quarterback. because we had Marcus Mariota for the Titans, and you looked at how that went over and didn't go over so well. I'm like, I'm not sure about this, and so here we go. And so Falcons, but the Falcons aren't in postseason. The Philadelphia Eagles are, and as I said, I've lived there. I've been close to there. I mean, literally across the street. The Navy shipyard was across the street from Veterans Stadium, which I know they're not veterans anymore. But anyway, but you got some Bammers that are playing there, and some Georgia guys too. So gotta love my local folks as far as that goes too. So we'll see what happens. I think they're up against it with the Chiefs. So if you're paying close attention to what's happening in 22, there was an opportunity for the Phillies, the Philadelphia Eagles to go up against the Kansas City Chiefs, and that did not go very well for the Eagles as they blew a third quarter lead, and so the Chiefs reigned supreme. And this brings it to the point to where they could win their third in a row. And I would like to see that not happen. Although I do think that Patrick Mahomes is entering into a Michael Jordan of football type scenario. He just finds a way to extend. He is the best at extending plays. I mean, you see it when he fakes the handoff and he runs to the sidelines. And we know what he does with the sliding to the side and then the flags that he gets them every time. But he extends those plays and it gives him more time to find a receiver to get it downfield. So he figures that out. But I think that Jalen Hurts with Saquon, Brown, and Devontae Smith, I think we got a good shot. So good luck to that. Hopefully that works out. And that's where we are on our breaking news segment of the show. Another part, something that I'd like to share with you, and we'll do this occasionally. We won't always do this, but we are sent some books to read and to some resources to share. And so today I'd like to share a resource of a friend of mine who wrote a book called Connected, Parenting Faithfully in the Digital Age. This is written by my good buddy, Joe Wells, and the book looks like that. And another buddy, friend of mine, and like I said, director of our podcasting network, Caleb Sampson, made this graphic for him. So awesome. It's a great book. Today is the day he's trying to get it promoted in different areas. So I'm glad and happy to be a part of that. When it comes to this, one thing, if you don't know Joe Wells, one thing you know is that he is a researcher of information, and he has got his hand, his whole family has their hand on the pulse of what's happening in culture in our world today. And from Kaio to Hey Joe to everything that everything he touches, he's a dreamer, but he makes it happen. And I love that about him and his family. And it's awesome. Love them dearly. But he's got 7 chapters in the book from introduction. He talks about parenting on purpose. Love the first chapter. And parenting on purpose, being intentional in how you parent your kids when it comes to devices, when it comes to the internet, when it comes to what they see. There is Bible. Matthew talks specifically about the things you allow into your eye will create something in your body. If it's full of light, that's good. If it's darkness, your whole body's full of darkness. So be careful with that. Be careful with the things you bring into it. And that's some of the things that Joe talks about in this book. He talks about social media. He talks about anxiety and addiction and some things that can happen from overuse, from negative use. Let me say this, though. Because I remember one year at Freed Hardeman, I had an opportunity to speak on their youth summit on internet evangelism. When it comes to, by the way, if you can get a copy of this book, get this book. It's really good. It's an easy read. It's good for me because it's got big words. No, I'm just kidding. But it does. It's got some good stuff in there, some really good information. It really helps you out. Every church needs it. Every parent needs it. So big push for that right there. Please keep that in mind. But what I was saying about internet evangelism in general, with this in mind, is when you have when Facebook first came out, it was called the Facebook. When the Facebook first came out, people were leery about it. When when these different social media forms come out, everybody thinks it's wrong, or liberal or terrible or crazy. When TikTok came out, it was of the devil. I mean, that people thought that or said that. These things are only as bad as we as humankind, as mankind, allow it to be. I've seen some phenomenal things on TikTok that will that'll save your day, that will send you towards Jesus. But at the same time, on the flip side of that, and this goes for all social media forums and platforms, it's only as good and bad as we make it. And so we have to make sure that our filter is strong enough that when you see the bad, delete, do not follow, do not let that impression happen on what you do. Be careful about those things. And I think that's something that we definitely need to bear in mind is that your kids are worth the time spent in monitoring what's there. I have, and he also has two kids, just two kids. We have Lainey Rose, who is 17. That is so weird to say that. She is 17, 17 this month. Driving, doing her thing, responsible for the most part. I mean, she is, but as a dad, as a parent, you always want to watch and take care of and be there for and monitor. And so we do. We have apps that we see where she is, and especially when it comes to her internet intake, some things we talk about, and so I think that's okay. I think that's good. Let me give you a few names. If you're a congregation and you're looking for to have like a weekend seminar or something to talk about these very things, I know three or four specific guys that are really good at this stuff. Of course, Joe Wells. Okay, number one, Joe Wells. Chad Landman, really good, really good. Joey Sparks, awesome. And then, of course, Jason Helton, which actually we'll have here in April for Ministry Experience. Excited about that. And we've had all these guys. That's stuff we do over the years with all the events that we're a part of as well. So please keep them out. There are many other people, but those are the ones I would say do a great, phenomenal job. If you want their information, contact me at thepaulspurlin@gmail.com, and we will get that information to you. So keep that in mind. Don't be scared of social media, but be aware of what your kids are watching and doing and participating in, and don't let it overcome their life. Make sure they interact with each other. The worst picture you can see is a family of four sitting at a table with a device in their hands, and no one touching that food and getting cold. Nobody wants that. So interact with each other, take opportunities to be together, and enjoy that stuff. I just mentioned one kid. I have another kid. His name is Tyler. Tyler is 10 years old. Sort of introducing myself to you. Tyler is on the spectrum for autism. He is. I don't know if the spectrum is here. I'd say he's probably somewhere in the middle. I mean, he's as he gets older, things are starting to develop, and I think that can happen. Some people think there's no developing in autism. I think there is. I think there's some learned things that you get, and we'll talk a lot about this as this show continues. But definitely something to think about. So we got these two kids. We take care of them. We want to know where they're at. We want to know they're safe if they're not with us, which hopefully isn't very often. But you get your kids for 18 years. You do the best you can, and hope for the best. And you pray a lot, not because you're fighting a losing battle, because you're not. God's going to make sure you win, but we have to seek Him first. We have to keep Him in the forefront of our mind, and we need to understand that He loves us enough to give these blessings, these kids, and this life we live. Because some of us are here, and you're listening, you're watching, and you're single, or maybe you just got engaged. Congratulations, that's great. Sam Dillon, good job there. So you're starting life, you're making decisions, you're making choices. We did have a seminar this past weekend here at Piedmont Road, and one of the things that was mentioned, it was about different things in ministry and in family. Is interesting is if you're a young couple or a couple and you don't have children yet, the best time to start training those kids is before they're born. When you set up priorities and set up how things go, that's where we're at. And I think that is something that is very needful, and be very prayerful when it comes to that stuff as well. All right. So we've shared a few things. I shared a resource with you, the book. Check that out. And I will tell you too, Joe Wells is at Freed Hardeman. If you need him, you can contact him there. If you want his information, contact me, and I will get you his stuff if you don't already have it. But he is all the place on social media, so check him out. Well, not check him out, but find him and do stuff. Yeah, that's good. And Dan, thank you for being a part of this, being a part of the Finish League too, man. Thank you for being here and watching this. Love your show too. Oh, Linda, I hope you're doing well. I know you've been traveling, but it's good to see you. Good to see you with us. Another piece of this, we talked about what's going on, what events are happening. So let's talk a little about some events. I've got some small events, and we've got some very large events to talk about. We are 1 week left. Friday ends the month. I'll be me personally on Montgomery on Friday. I'll be with the Zorn Scholarship Bible majors with Dr. Todd. Dr. Todd Brenneman has asked me to come down there. John Podine will also be there, and others, to talk to these guys about red flags in ministry, red flags in interviewing and preparing for life in ministry. And so I'll be down there Friday. Looking forward to that. That being said, on Wednesday, we'll do a special the Paul Spurlin Show. Have an interview that I interviewed Hunter Smith, who was but is the director of admissions there at Faulkner University in Montgomery. Soar Eagles, different Eagles, but still cool. So we're going to have that interview. We'll be out here on Wednesday, so look forward to that. And then, of course, we'll be on campus on Friday. And then February, towards the end of February, you have CYC. If you CYC online, I believe at CYConline.com, you can find information about that event. Larry Davenport and his crew does a great job with that event in Pigeon Forge. So hopefully you'll make plans to be there. We will be there. Ministry will be there. Caleb will be there. And we will, I believe, if I'm correct, the podcasting setup will be there. And so we'll go live from CYC, and pretty excited about that with Heritage Christian as well. So that's coming up. Here's a big change, and unless you've been living under a rock and you don't know, Freed Hardeman University, wonderful location. Love those good folks. We're a part of Rush, the event there in September that we do. But they have gone through a change. They have renovated Gano, and they have built a Chick-fil-A on campus. It's like happening now. It's open, happening now. I'm really excited about that. And also Lloyd Auditorium has had an overhaul. It's got a new name and everything, and that'll be ready for the beginning of their lectureship starting March the 15th, I believe. I think 16th is that Monday. 16th, 17th. And so that week is the week of lectureship on campus at Freed Hardeman University. And so that's another big event coming up in March. If you have an event, or you have something you'd like for us to share and share with other people, or a resource you'd like for us to share, send us an email at thepaulspurlin@gmail.com, and we will share that stuff with people, and we'll look forward to doing that as well. I want to go through here about the events and stuff. Another thing we mentioned as we do this show is I'm a big Superman fan, so we want to pursue the knowledge, truth, in if you're Superman the American way, but the way to him, the ultimate way, which is the way to heaven, the paradise, and then to heaven to be with God when this life is over. That's what all of this is about. This whole thing, our walk, our love for our families, our love for each other, and our love for people to know who Jesus is. That's what this is all about. And so the best way to get there, so as we're about to close the show out, the best way to get there is to share something with you. We'll try to share something at each show if we can as we close this down. This is in Galatians chapter 6, and in verse 2, we're told to bear one another's burdens. Bear one another's burdens and so fulfill the law of Christ. So what he tells us there is we need to be good to one another. We need to be kind to one another. We need to respect one another. But we also need to know that we all have stuff going on. You have a struggle going on in your life. I've got struggles in my life. We need each other. And we need to be transparent with one another. We need to try to do our very best to have a connection with one another. And in having that is going to help us. What I really love about this verse, what I really love about this passage in Galatians 6 and verse 2, not only are we supposed to bear one of those burdens, but it says you need to do this to fulfill the law of Christ. So if you think about it, Jesus isn't saying, do you mind helping one another when you get a shot? Do you mind helping one another when you get a chance? That's not what Jesus is saying. What Jesus is saying into the inspiration here, the Holy Spirit, as Paul is writing to the church in Galatia, he's saying, this is law. He's not asking you to help one another. He's actually saying, if we want that home in heaven, if that prize, if that chance for eternal destiny with him, singing praises and worshiping and enjoying all things heaven, I need you to do this. I need you to be there for one another. I need for you to love one another. I need for you to care for one another. And that's where we're at. Kind of each and every week on Mondays, whatever time we start, because of complications. We'll start. I want to thank Caleb Sampson for making this happen as usual, and Ministry League and Piedmont Road. I will ask you to send me an email, thepaulspurlin@gmail.com. If you have questions, comments, anything about this show or anything else in life, love or the pursuit of happiness, let me know. And also check out the website, thepaulspurlin.com, and on social media, everything at The Paul Spurlin. Thank you for being here. We look forward to being with you next time for the Paul Spurlin Show. Take care. God bless. See you later.